Hello, everyone, and welcome to another wonderful mindful conversation. Other times where you look in the mirror and you just don't like that reflection. You hear this inner voice that's really negative, and you're just, saying all these things about yourself. You find yourself comparing. You're just really not happy anymore. Those are some of the things that Anne and myself are going to address today in this beautiful conversation. Hello, Anne. Welcome, and thank you for being my guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be a part of a mindful conversation around our own inner critics and
Yeah,
our self-talk. Mm.
yeah, it's such an important, conversation. I find that no matter how many times we hear it, it's a message that constantly needs to be there because I can do it myself, right? I mean, I talk about loving who you are, but there's the odd time I'll hear that inner voice. I was like, okay, let's switch gears here. Let's switch our mindset. So, Anne, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are?
Sure. I would love to start with just that exact thing is a series of decades of not really caring for myself, not liking myself, talking very meanly to myself, and that degrading inner voice. I call it my mini me, this mini me that would just keep kind of attacking, right? Well, all things about me. And it wasn't just specific to one thing. It started with my body, but then it went on to, who I was as a person or not fitting in or not belonging and all of those things. And that conversation in my head just would get louder and louder and continue to get stronger and stronger until I had to kind of pause and step back and say, wait a minute, this isn't helpful. How is this helping me? So that's what I work with women who are struggling with self acceptance. And a lot of times it has to do with weight and body image as well, because that in our culture is a tough road to fight. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is, that message of, I had those battles myself, and it was, that whole body image and hearing maybe outside influences and that constant comparing and needing to say to yourselves like, whoa, this is a constant, and it's time to shift that mindset, the way you see yourself.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And being able to allow yourself or give yourself permission to pause and take a breath and realize you do have a choice, even
Hmm.
though you might not think you have a choice in the
Yeah.
beginning, right?
Yeah.
Because it is very, very difficult.
Yeah. I love how
So
you say, pause, take a breath, give yourself a choice, give yourself permission, because that's something I truly believe in. Because it doesn't matter, and let me know if you agree with this. It doesn't matter how much other people, let's say, give you a compliment. If you don't believe it in yourself, if you don't give yourself a choice to believe what they're saying, if you don't give yourself a choice to actually realize it yourself, then it's never
mm,
going to happen.
absolutely. I completely 100% agree. And it's a really good exercise for people to just notice if they get a compliment, how they respond,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of times we respond almost automatically with a compliment back, or we brush it off, or we go, oh, this old thing, or something
Yeah.
along the lines of not allowing it to hit us
Yeah.
and sink in. It's like we tend to deflect it and release it,
Hmm.
right? So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Now, do you find, Anne, that self-care, it's
Mm.
so important? It is a key ingredient. It is vital for helping you shift your mindset and learning about self-acceptance, learning about to love who you are, learning to love this body.
Mm, I know. The body piece, I think, in our society today, and especially if you think about our younger generations that are brought up with the social media, and now we've been thrown into the COVID situation where all we're doing is looking at ourselves on Zoom in classrooms, where that's completely not what we've been doing before. And comparison just pops up all the time. And as soon as comparison pops up, then the negative self talk starts as well. And how can we pause and go, wait a minute, I am not that person. They are not me. We are different. We have different genetics. We are completely different people. Can I or can I choose to stop and pause again? Huge word, right? Just
Mhm.
stop the inner chatter and pause and go, wait a minute. Is this helping me? Is this supporting me? How is this working for me right now?
Yeah.
And shift it and be able to shift it.
Mhm. And do you find that doing that thought is part of self-care, allowing yourself to make time for who you are and make time to love who you are, and that self-care is part of, okay, what am I going to do for myself right now? What am I
Mm.
going to do for myself today? So what are some things that you do for yourself, and that allows that self-care to happen every day?
I get up a little early and I take some morning time for myself because I know that that is the best time for me to make sure I have time for myself. So
Mhm.
it started, I called it the morning 10, and it started to be, it was started out as being 10 minutes of anything I wanted to do, which was a really important piece for me. So sometimes I did some coloring, sometimes I did journaling, sometimes I meditated, sometimes I stretched, sometimes I took a walk, and it was a, 15 or 20-minute walk outside. It just depended on my own uh, what I wanted that day.
Mhm.
How do I want to fill myself up? How do I want to at least fill my cup up a little bit? And now my morning is longer than that. It's anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes or 50 minutes, just because it is my time and it allows for that space to just find out who you are and find out a little bit more about who you are. What do you like? What fills you up? What are those things? Which I honestly believe a lot of people just don't necessarily even know because they're always trying to make sure everybody else is okay, especially when it comes to women, right? We're always looking at making sure everybody's okay and people pleasing, and then we get put on the back burner.
Yeah, so true, right? And you mentioned that it's you do it in the morning. So what happens for, those women out there where it's really hard for them to get up early, and or they're lying in bed and say, but I'm too tired. Do you find too that the morning works best for you? And again, you talked about individually finding what works for best for you. What motivates you, and to get up in the morning that 10 minutes, that half an hour earlier than everybody else? What motivates you to keep on doing that? I know you talked about it's your time to focus on yourself, but what really is that motivation? Is like, nope, I'm not staying in bed. I'm going to get up because this is time for me. What keeps you motivated to get up every day earlier than everybody else?
I think the biggest thing is that there isn't a specific thing I'm doing. I am allowed options. So there is a pause button that I can push when I open my eyes to say, what do I want to do today? And that usually pulls me out of bed. On occasion, it doesn't, right? And I think to myself, is this, how am I going to feel later, if I don't take time for myself? And there, I will be completely honest, on occasion, how I will feel is more tired, right? So this might be a good time to stay in bed. So my option is this is self care for me to get some more rest. And I also know that if I fall into that kind of trap of doing that more often, then I find myself stepping, emptying
Yeah.
my cup and not being readily available or my best self for my clients or for my family, right? And for the things that I really truly love.
Mhm.
So it's a fine line to walk, and to be able to make sure that somehow, sometime during your day, you're taking some time to just somehow refill your cup, whether it's laughter, what gives you energy, and what do you just love. And it can be done in 5 minutes or less sometimes, because our days are busy. But how do we make sure that that's a habit? And that's, some of the work that you do too. How do we instill a self care habit?
Yeah, I was going to say, the word that was coming to my mind is habit too, right? When you create a daily habit, it becomes a ritual. It becomes part of your day. It becomes part of your routine. And when you instill that, this is for me, and you start to recognize how much more uplifted and how much energized and how much self-awareness happens during that me time, during that daily routine, during that daily habit. I find that it becomes a part of you and you just begin to do it naturally.
Correct,
Yeah,
correct. And
yeah.
I have a term called a self-care sandwich, or a habit sandwich, right? So if we link it to something that we already do, I already get up and have my coffee, or I already take a shower at night, or I already have my lunch at 11:30 from work, or whatever that habit might be that's already instilled. If we can kind of link something new to that, it helps because it's connected to something that's already there and already in place.
Mhm.
So,
And we a lot of times we talked about mindset and influences. I mean, everywhere we look, there's influences, whether they're, say, negative or whether there's positive.
mm,
And we need to be very in tuned into that. Again, I think that I really feel like comes through habits. It becomes from awareness. It becomes for allowing yourself the choices to become aware, to allowing yourself the choices to know what makes you feel wonderful or uplifts you, to bringing you in a space that doesn't make you feel great.
mm,
So, in today's world, there can be a lot of negativity everywhere we look at. I'm going to say even prior to COVID, right? I
mm.
think in COVID, it has raised more negativity. So, what helps you and what helps you maintain a positive mindset and helps you maintain having a positive outlook on life? Because I really feel that at the end of the day, things could always be worse. And when I set myself and continue to have this lifestyle of having a positive attitude, that things that could have seemed really terrible in my life really aren't that bad after all, right? So what helps you and to maintain that positive mindset overall on, I'll say, on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis over the last year?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said awareness, right? It's becoming aware of when I call it falling into a hole, when we're falling into that hole. And do we want to fall into that hole? So stopping and giving yourself permission to ask the question, this is what's happening. Is this going to be helpful and or harmful? Sometimes, I will take, okay, I am going to give myself a pity party for 5 minutes, and then I'll be done, and then I can move on, right? And I think sometimes that can be a helpful piece of the equation, is to allow a little bit of that release of the energetic, the negative energy that sometimes we feel around us. But once we're aware of it, we have the ability to shift it and change it. And I think one of the things that helps a lot for me is just changing my state, smiling, standing up tall, moving outside and taking in nature, using a little gratitude, the simple little things that can make a huge difference in where you are, both physically and, emotionally. So,
Yeah. I think some key words I picked out too, and I think they jumped out at me because I believe the same thing. It's about give yourself permission,
mm,
get out in nature, be aware, be aware of how you're feeling, and allow yourself to feel like crap, but then switch gears and
mm,
double up on something that's going to make you feel uplifted and make you feel release the heaviness. I'll say release the heaviness on your shoulders, release the heaviness in your mindset that you may be feeling. So yeah,
mm.
really good things to be mindful of, really good things to always have in the back. I'll say in the back of your mind, because there's often times that we'll go through our day, we'll go through life, and then always in the back of our mind something jumps forward. So to keep
Mhm.
that in the back of your mind is being aware, make time for yourself,
Mm.
uh, allowances, I think are really key words. And
Mm.
again, take 5 minutes, get out in nature. Or I say, even if you can't get out, look at a window. Like look out a window, look at a tree, or quick take a 5-10 minute walk in a park, and just be in the moment.
So true.
Those are
Mm.
those are definitely key things to keep your mindset in a positive way, and not allow yourself to get so weighed down with all the negatives, and not allow yourself to be absorbed right, by all the negativity that can be out there, right? I always say that, and I'm hearing the same thing from you, and that we have choices, right? We can make the choice of allow yourself to be absorbed by all the negative uh, conversations that are out there. And I've been surrounded by these conversations where everyone's like right, and it's like, okay, I'm going to stand there, but I'm not going to add my thoughts, because then I'm becoming absorbed by that negative conversation, that negative energy, right?
Right. And how can you protect yourself? It's
Yeah,
almost like a boundary for other things. We
exactly.
we create boundaries for relationships, and we create boundaries to keep ourselves
Yeah,
safe. And we can create boundaries as well
yeah,
to protect ourselves from,
yeah,
having that getting sucked into. I think
yeah.
that's kind of that kind of energy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, right. And something I do, and I'd like to hear your 2 cents about this too, that going back to, I talk about when you're find yourself in this conversation where these people are just talking about negativity and these conspiracy theories, and everybody around them, but I'll sit there and listen, and then later on when I walk away, I just like, whoa, okay, like they're feeling like this, and I believe this is the reason why. And I'm going to instead focus on this. I'm not going to spew in my mind what they were feeling. And I'm not going to let spew in my mind what they were talking about. And just instead putting that to a side and say, okay, I'm going to focus on this instead. Like, what do you do? Like, is that something you do as well? And when you're surrounded by those conversations that are like, oh my gosh, this is so
I
negative,
know.
and I can feel it.
It's so true. I think that it being noticing that you're in that spot, right? And all the
Yeah,
all the kind of negative energy coming at you, are you able to politely leave so you can pull yourself away? A lot of times you're not, but when you do, how can you cleanse your own soul, right? You can validate people's thoughts around things by, you don't have to agree with them, but you can say, okay, they live a different life, they have a different experience, they've seen different things.
yeah,
I don't know their background, I don't know their experiences, I don't know anything about them, so they can have their opinions. I do not have to hold on to them, I don't have to fight them, I don't have to make sure they hear my point of view. I can if I choose, but I can step away too and just protect myself and what's best for you. And everybody's going to be a little different. What's their best option in that space and time? So allowing yourself, for me, it's allowing myself to step away, and almost like you take a shower and shower it off, or
wash it away.
yeah, wash it away, or release, just somehow release it. How can I release that negative energy? Because I don't want to carry that into my next conversation or into the next room that I walk into.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think some key messages walk away that I'm hearing in our conversation is to be aware of how you're feeling, to not be bound by the negativity maybe that surrounds you, to allow yourself to make choices, to give yourself permission,
Mm.
to surround yourself by nature, surround yourself every day with thoughts and that uplift you, to look in the mirror, and with any negative mindset you might be hearing, give yourself a compliment instead.
Mm.
When you're given a compliment, accept it and say thank you. Even
Mm.
simple as that, thank you very much. and go through life every day where you find a time for yourself, that you're finding that time, not giving it all away, but giving yourself permission, allowing yourself the choice to take time every day, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, to do something just for yourself.
Absolutely. All of
Yeah.
those things, and I think that it's interesting how the words pop out really, really distinctly, right? The pause, the choice, permission, the allowance of self-care. You are worthy and deserving. You deserve
Yeah.
to have some time for yourself. It is not, I think we have grown up in a time where it was self-care was felt as selfish, right? And how can we shift that mindset and shift that belief and realize that self-care is necessary,
Hmm.
right? It's essential. it's
Yeah.
it's the only way we can show up for the people that we love,
Yeah.
if we're making sure that we're taking care of ourselves somehow.
Exactly. It's all about baby steps, all
Yes,
about simple baby steps, right? When we
so
when we
true.
look at it that way, it's like, what's one small baby step I can do today and tomorrow or this week, and then tomorrow or next week, add on another baby step. And it's when you do not overwhelm yourself, but take 5 minutes today, take 5 minutes tomorrow to, okay, what am I quick feeling? And I don't mean quick, but what am I feeling right now? And what am I going to do to uplift myself? Take that, add on 5 minutes, then the next week. And it's that baby step, right? It's like, wow, 5 minutes flew by, right? And it's
Mm,
like, wow, I feel really good. So
yeah.
recognizing that and allowing yourself permission to recognize how good it feels. And then
Celebrate yourself,
yeah,
right?
celebrate, yeah. And continue on that daily journey. It's a never ending journey, right? Self-care, self-love, self-acceptance is a lifelong journey, and it's never ending. It's giving
Hmm.
yourself permission, allowing yourself to make it a daily routine for a lifelong journey.
Yeah, it's a daily acceptance of self, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And there's as we're slowly drawing to a close, there's always three questions I love asking my guests, because we're finding a little bit kind of about you, Anne. Right? We know how your beliefs and what you love for other women to follow and how you guide them, which is beautiful. But let's learn a little bit more about you. Who is Anne? So we all have quotes that we
Mm.
simply kind of stand by, or they're in the back of our mind, or maybe we have it posted up somewhere. But Anne, what is a quote that you simply stand by and simply love?
Well, one of my favorites, and it resonates with our conversation, is Viktor Frankl's "Between a stimulus and a response, there is a space."
Mm,
And I love that there is a space. And in
yeah,
that space, I can paraphrase the second part of that quote. You can all look it up. But we have that choice within that space. So when something happens, it happens, and then we tend to just react. But there is a space between what happens and how we respond. And how do we utilize that space? And what are
yeah,
our choices for that space? So that's one of my favorite quotes. And I say it a lot. So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And as far as for yourself, what's advice that you give yourself or that you follow that you can share with our listeners today?
That your beliefs don't have to stay forever, right?
Mm,
I think that that choice word is always part of my vocabulary, because um, when I was able to step back from my life and make different choices around my beliefs that had been instilled, when I was 10 or 5, they don't work at 50, right? So
yeah.
I needed to say, okay, let's look at our beliefs. So I think that that's for me, is this belief true? Is this something I want to, continue to believe? Or is there some not so much truth to this belief, and where did it come from, and is there something else that I can choose to believe around X, Y, or Z, whatever it might be.
Nice,
Right.
nice. Yeah. Now, cannot include family in
Yeah.
this
Okay.
last question.
Okay.
So if it was the last day of your life, what's the one thing that you would be grateful for?
I'm going to say the ocean. I mean, I love water. So water of any kind, nature of any kind. But I think that it fuels me. It heals me. Um, I live near the ocean, so that's what my first instinct is. But stepping outside and being in the beauty of nature, I am so grateful for the fact that it's accessible to me, and I'm blessed to have it near me, so that I can find a space to really
Nice.
pause and
Nice. Yeah, water is very, very powerful, very powerful.
right, in so many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah, in
Right.
so many ways, exactly.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you for being my guest today and sharing in your powerful message. I reached out to you because I see that you authentically believe in the same message that I do. So I thank you for sharing that and helping other women know that they're important and they need to believe in themselves and to give themselves the power to do that every day. So thank
Mhm.
you very much for your time. Thank you for being here. And everyone who's watching today, to remember to hit the subscribe button so you get notification when the next beautiful conversation comes, when the next video comes on my channel. And love to read your comments down below. If you want to know more about Anne, you can find all the information, how to reach her, where to reach her down below this video. Remember, when you go to bed tonight, think about the best thing that happened. And when you wake up tomorrow, think about and feel truly what you are grateful for. This is Tanya Otterstein-Liehs, mindful coach, helping you with self-care, self-love, and mindset. Until next time, thank you very much and see you soon.